All right, welcome back to TEW Impact. We are at the go home show for Turning Point, and I'm just right here in the news. Just getting right into it because we got a lot of news. Apparently, last week or the weekend was a big weekend for outside shows, so got quite a bit of news and quite a bit of developments elsewhere. Not so much sure how much of it affects us, but I figured I would just, keep track of it just in case. Our numbers for last week, pretty much the same. Um, point oh 0.01 for BTI as always. 32 rating for BTI down from 39. Literally no change in TV or overall rating from last week for Impact, or at least the week before. And then our attendance was 360 up from 331. So um if we've been in a holding pattern, this is definitely like the most, you know, we've held, I guess. From week to week, literally no changes in our impact ratings. Slight uptick in attendance, which is good for us money wise. Rating for BTI, not a big deal because I think 39 was probably our high anyway. So doing good, doing good for where we're at still. Impact news. Chris Sabin accepted his 1 year extension to a written deal, which I think I mentioned last week. Um, that we had offered it to him, but he hadn't accepted it yet. It is for A shows and events, big events only. As he is getting up there in age, so that is no big deal. We did offer Trey Miguel a 1 year extension to his written deal, much like Chris Sabin, where we offered it and he hasn't had a chance to accept it yet. And again, to show how criminally underpaid some of these are set at. He was only making $20 a show. He asked for a one, and his uh, contract, at least over the year, was valued at 130, so we're gonna give it to him. No reason why we shouldn't. Um, Homicide suffered an undisclosed illness while wrestling for MLW. He can still perform. It will take a few weeks to fully heal. Um, I do have plans for him. He is in that program with Colby Carino. Likely something for the pay per view. I think I'm hoping, like you said, he can still work, um, in a few weeks to heal. So I don't expect it to like get worse, or if using him can get worse. I normally don't use people when they're injured, but just the way this fell and the fact that he can work through it might just rush through it and deal with it. Robert Evans relocated to the southeast. Um, so yeah, people moving for Impact, and then Josh Alexander signed a one night only deal to appear at the AIW Hell on Earth, um, the Hell on Earth event. Sorry, my cat's underneath my feet. Um, there will be more on this later because not just for Josh's sake, a few things kind of stemmed out of this. So it's kind of the common thread, the news segment this week. Yeah. So for WWE news, the Usos defeated the New Day of Kofi and Xavier on SmackDown to win the SmackDown Tag Team titles for the sixth time. As I mentioned, I think last week or the week before, the Bloodline has split. So I guess the Usos are on their own, but doesn't look like they're um doing that bad for themselves back on top of the SmackDown Tag Team ranks. The Diamond Mine has disbanded. So with Roderick Strong on the main roster, it looks like Ivy Nile is managed by Hideki Suzuki. Ivy also being the women's champion of NXT, and the Creed brothers are being managed by Malcolm Bivens. So that's kind of how that has split out. Um, Guru Raj suffered a herniated disc on a takeover dark match. He will be out for over a year, so that kind of sucks for him. Uh, so Scott Demore watch. Um, he teamed with Braun Breaker and Odyssey Jones at Takeover to defeat Von Wagner and the Grizzled Young Veterans. So he's getting pay-per-view wins, booking himself into pay-per-view wins on NXT. So just thought I would put that in there. And then they did extend a lot of contracts. Brock Lesnar, Charles Robinson, R-Truth, Montez Ford, Ulysses Leon, Gigi Dolan, and Boa have all renewed for WWE. For AEW, the Young Bucks have defeated Alex Reynolds and John Silver on Rampage to win the AEW Tag Team titles for the second time. This is due to Silver signing an exclusive written deal with WWE a few weeks ago. I think it's probably another few weeks till he probably that takes effect and he's officially in WWE. The Bunny defeated Thunder Rosa on Rampage to win the TBS title. Her first reign with that belt. Also mentioned that Bunny recently signed an exclusive deal with AEW, so that is paying off for her. Brandy Rhodes defeated Ruby Soho, Jade Cargill, and Abaddon on Dynamite to win the women's title. Her first reign with that belt. Um, in that match, Abaddon suffered a dislocated hip. She will be out for a month. Miro also suffered a dislocated hip. Um, and will be out for a month, but not on AEW, but with AIW. They had booked him for Hell on Earth as well. Um, but then he signed an exclusive written deal. So Miro and Chris Statlander are now exclusive to AEW. The must be like a one shot with AIW because I think he just signed a handshake deal with them like a week or two ago. Um, Maybe showed up on some Go for Brokes, and then he's on Hell on Earth, and then maybe he'll be on a few more Go for Brokes till the exclusivity kicks in, I guess. So who knows? Well, I guess that won't happen because he's uh dislocated his hip, so can't really do that. But we'll get into that more again later. Hell on Earth, uh, having some weird effects. Well, we'll get into that now. I didn't realize it was so soon. So I just put the instead of screen capping the card, I just put it on here because there are some interesting names in here. Sheamus defeated Leo Rush to retain the Absolute title. Josh Alexander defeated Miro via countout to retain the IWTV title. So Miro was on a handshake deal. Josh Alexander brought in on a one night deal to defend the IWTV title against Miro. This is where apparently Miro dislocates his hip, likely on the outside, and has to be counted out for Josh Alexander to retain. So a big win for Josh Alexander as IWTV champion. Britt Baker defeated Rosemary for like the fifth time. Um, Jake Christ and the Cutthroats of Brian Carson and Jack Verville defeated Lee Moriarty and the Beast Squad of Shane Douglas and Dylan Postel, the former Hornswoggle. So, yeah, that was a part where, like, if I just had screen capped that and just said the Cutthroats versus the Beast Squad, you wouldn't know who they are because they were game generated weirdness of paired teams where we have Shane Douglas and Hornswoggle as a team. And then Braden Lee and Lewis Linden defeated Dominic Greeny and Derek Dillinger via DQ. And then about a few days after the show, Dave Chris signed a handshake deal, which I don't imagine that happening in real life, considering he was one of the big names in that whole speaking out movement a few years ago. Not to mention, I don't think the Chris are high up, even though they're like or Ohio guys. They're not necessarily AIW guys, and I meant, like I said, Dave. Jake, maybe there's a chance, but Dave, I wouldn't imagine ever being booked. Elsewhere in America, for PWG, they had a big event at this past weekend. Black Truce and Trey Miguel formed a team called Heavy Metal Chaos, where they defeated Lazarus and Ares. Thought just since they were both with us that was kind of interesting pairing. But then Cody Rhodes also defeated Samoa Joe to retain the PWG title at that event. Um, Championship Wrestling from Hollywood, I think, rose to small status last week. So therefore, they have signed a number of people to handshake deals: Wardlow, Ivar, Athena, Sean Davari, Serena Deeb, who has a written deal with AEW, Darby Allin, who also is written with AEW, and Meng as a road agent. Wardlow having been released recently, so is Ivar. I think Athena's been released. And then for New Japan Pro Wrestling Strong, Katsuyori Shibata extended his handshake deal to remain a road agent there. He had not come back as a full time wrestler in this universe. He is still a road agent. International news for New Japan: the Birds of Prey of Robbie Eagles and Will Ospreay defeated the Natural Superstars of Kenta and Taiji Ishimori to win the IWGP Junior Heavyweight Tag Team titles, their first reign with those titles. Ospreay recently signing an exclusive deal with New Japan, so that is paying off for him as well, much like the Bunny signing a written deal and also becoming a champion soon after. Ice Ribbon had a show where Tsukasa Fujimoto defeated Hiroyu Matsumoto and Rina Shingaki to win the Triangle Ribbon title for the fifth time. Then Maiko Ozaki defeated Arisa Nakajima to win the Internet Wrestling 19 title. Her first reign with that belt. Maika also the current International Ribbon Tag Team Champion with Tekla. And then IWRG in Mexico have risen to small size as well. No retirements announced, but taking effect: Grant Akuma, Rory Fox, Terry Taylor, and Austin Idol all retiring this week. And then for Before the Impact, we start off with W. Morrissey defeating Raj Singh and Mahabali Shera in a handicap match, I believe due to some botched interference by Enlightened Steve, likely distracting someone to lead to a Morrissey pin, or just I think I imagine like they do a whole guy uh, runs the ropes. Steve pulls down the ropes thinking it's Morrissey. It's actually one of his guys, leaving the other guy to take the Morrissey pin. Let's just leave it at that. Then we get a angle with Team Mexico. Team Mexico solidified for the Super X Cup. It will be Mascara Dorada, Laredo Kid, Commander, and Astrolux. Gotita de Plata is there, but not glad that he had lost the match and therefore has been relegated to alternate status. But they kind of hype him up, saying, "Hey, you're here for a reason. We have you here for a reason. We any one of us could get injured at any time. It's going to be high risk to bring home that World X Cup." And that kind of gets Gotito de Plata on board, and it's like, okay, I get it. I'm not super happy, but I'm with you guys. And then we get a segment where once again, Quinn McKay and Taylor Wilde are backstage, um, and they run into Roxy and Roxy. Roxy having lost a match to Willow Nightingale last week on Impact. Uh, Roxy, the elder Roxy is, likely yelling at the younger Roxy to, you know, get in better shape, put in more effort, whatever. And then, kind of get a snide remark from Quinn McKay. It was like, kind of like a, hey, nice match, but better like next time. And out of nowhere, Roxy just goes apeshit and attacks Quinn McKay, uh, former friends. So Roxy, the I guess the uh, yelling from her trainer is getting into her, and then Roxy also beats down Taylor Wilde for good measure. So this is the heel turn for Roxy, which I'll mention later. I got a bunch of notes down afterwards. And then for the main event of Before the Impact, Rep 419 defeating the Hold of Eric Young and Damian O'Connor. I think I had possible miscommunication, allowing Trey Miguel to pin um, Eric Young. And then we end the show with Myers' Learning Tree segment. We get Brian Myers just like kind of dressing down VSK and Avery Good once again, and he's just kind of like, I had to do it. I have to do it. I had to call him in, and it's kind of hyping up how scary whoever this head trainer or side trainer or whoever is bringing in to whip his guys in shape is going to be. And then the doors blow open, and it ends up being Dylan Postle, Shane Douglas's tag team partner in AIW. So he comes in. Uh, the two guys, like VSK and Avery Good, are all kind of marking out, but Postle just rips into them verbally. Uh, Maybe kicks them in the shins for good measure. He's like, you have the privilege of being trained by the most professional wrestler, and you're squandering it. And you have a guy who's been to the big time. He's been a tag team champion, and he's willing to spend his time with you and transfer his knowledge to you, and you're taking him for granted. So that's why he called me in. He called in the superstar Dylan Postle, uh, multiple time, champion, multiple time uh, WrestleMania. We don't necessarily say WrestleMania, but WrestleMania uh, participant, star of the Muppets and Leprechaun Origins, and uh, basically the whole gist is that Brian Myers calling in his friend Dylan Postle to help him whip VSK and Avery Good into shape, ending the show with a 37. Believing that's a improvement from last week. I think 32 was last week. Rep 419 in the hold, doing a good number. Morrissey and Singh and Shera doing a decent number for a handicap match. So 37, which puts us at a good number. Roxy has turned heel. Turn was a success. Um, we may need a gimmick change because she is currently a fan favorite. Of course, we can't have a heel fan favorite. Um, but yeah, this is something we will work with. We gave Dylan Postel a Napoleon Complex gimmick an initial rating of great, so that will hopefully work out for us. And then before the show, for our pre-show incident, Matt Stryker organized a video game tournament, bumping the backstage morale up to 94%. So Matt Stryker, we're not necessarily doing anything with. He is set to retire. We might let him go before then. So, but while he's here, at least he can make people happy with video games. So I think that is it. Let us go to Impact. Start off Impact. We are at week 3, November. 388 people, which I think is close to what we had last week, give or take a few people. I just want to say right off the bat, I think this might be another angle heavy show because when I was booking it, I had a decent amount of free time left. So some segments that probably could have been addressed in like one segment, I kind of maybe split out into two or multiple. Um, I also do want to mention, because it might not come out till later in the show, but tonight's main event is pretty big. We have a 6-man tag of Eddie Edwards, Josh Alexander, and Speedball Mike Bailey versus Lance Archer, Ace Austin, and the Impact World Champion Christian Cage. Kind of made after last week's Melee. So they're kind of hyping that up throughout the show. Believe this would be Christian's first Impact as a wrestler in, I don't know, probably a couple years. Um, Whenever he was here previously as world champion. But yeah, we are starting off tonight with a 6-man of a different sort. The Maria Kanellis crew, Black Taurus, Matthew Raywalt, and Steve Macklin defeating Swingers Palace of Johnny Swinger, Alex Zane, and Zicky Dice. Basically, more of a showcase for Black Truce. Black Truce kind of steamrolling through the bulk of Swingers Palace, if not just like toying with them. Um, Matthew Raywell and Macklin kind of egging him on. But in the end, it is Black Truce pinning Johnny Swinger after 9 minutes and 39 seconds. Matthew Raywell off of his game. Johnny Bravo doing good work at ringside, but yeah, Johnny Swinger is a 24. Alex Zane with a 42, so that's pretty good. Matthew Raywell off his game, but also with an in-ring of 38. So, some numbers I'll have to keep in mind. Swingers Palace has kind of gone by the wayside as of late, but um, just some ideas I have that haven't really come to fruition as of yet. Uh, but yeah, I'll just have to keep in mind Alex Zane with decent performance. That something we can work with. Segment rating of 34 overall. After the match, we get it's Black Taurus, Matthew Raywalt, and Steve Macklin remaining in the ring, celebrating Macklin and Raywalt, uh, hyping him up as they have been in recent weeks. When we get a segment on the video screen in front of the ring, and it looks like Joe Hendry and Nick Stapp out in some random farm. Nick Stapp, kind of wearing like a crocodile hunter esque outfit, wearing a hat. Joe Hendry's like, "Where are we? I'm not familiar with the super familiar with the great nation of America. Like, where are we?" Nick Stapp is like, "Oh, we're just out in fields. We're just out on the farm, trying to get our partner, our Toulouse, our black Toulouse." And Hendry's like, they got bulls out here? And he's like, well, not so much bulls, but cows and pigs, I guess. And Joe Hendry's like, are we teaming with a cow or a pig? And while they're doing this, they're kind of like stepping over like pig troughs and like ruffling through barn doors and stuff like that, and poking into like stables and trying to see, like, poking their head through stables and seeing what's in there. And Nick Stab's just like, well, Hendry's like, well, are we teaming with cows and pigs? And Stapp is like, well, not exactly. And eventually they come to a stable where there's like a lot of like rustling and banging and clanging. And Nick Stapp's like, nope, that's our partner, that's our guy. And Hendry's like, well, he's a big guy. You think he'll, team with us? And Stapp's like, I know he'll team with us. And Hendry's just kind of like, does he sleep in there? Stapp's like, oh, I don't know, I guess it's a barn, whatever. So we kind of have like a comedy segment of Hendry and Stapp at a barn, with apparently their own black Taurus that they're, getting from a farm. So, segment rating of 32. Robert Evans, keep forgetting he's, their manager, so, maybe he's there too, and he's helping out, so, whatever. The segment rating of 32 for that. We go backstage where we see Petey Williams and his new Team Canada kind of grouping together when they are approached by Buddy Matthews and Aussie Open. And Petey and Buddy kind of like nodding at each other. There's like, Petey, Buddy, welcome, welcome. They're like, I see you have a, tag team of your own, and, they're kind of like preparing tag teams. And they're like, yeah, well, we got a tag team. You got yours. Looks like you're doing good. Uh, Buddy's like, well, how are you doing on your fourth team member? And Petey's like, well, still trying to get Speedball, but he's bound and determined not to, help us out, but we're still looking. And Petey's like, well, how about you? How about uh your fourth member? And Buddy's like, well, he's on his way. He'll be here. He'll be here. Don't worry about it. And they just kind of like know, like, they just kind of like look at each other, knowing that each of each other's kind of got some kind of bullshit planned for their fourth member. But they're keeping their sequence close to their vest. So just kind of like a meeting of the teams before we get to the World X Cup. Um, Sigma rating of 27, which is to be expected, considering these, 4 of the 6 people are really new and not over in the Southeast region. I do want to mention the main reason, like, well, not so much the main reason, um, but both TDT and Aussie Open have 100% tag team ratings. So I'm hoping that, once they start actually wrestling and they start, bringing in matches, the matches should be good. It's just that they're not over because no one really knows who they are yet here. So, segment rating of 27. Another thing, like I mentioned, with our alliance to Pro Wrestling Australia, every single time we have to do a one shot contract every single time we bring them in. And because of that, we have to keep giving Kyle Fletcher a gimmick every single time. Um, and I don't even know if I've been giving him the same gimmick because it doesn't really matter at this point. But it's got an initial rating of adequate. Um, Swagger gimmick, but yeah, who's to say he'll even have this gimmick by the next time I book him? So, yeah, segment rating of 27. We are backstage elsewhere. Uh, Kind of like a real quick segment before we go to break. Willow Nightingale walking down the hallway, walking out towards the ring. She has a match next. When while she's walking, the lights seem to flicker. So, she had seemed to be safe from her so-called stalker as of last week, and was able to get a win last week, but this week seems to be back. Um, the mind games continue. Segment rating of 21, and Willow has a tough task ahead of her because she will be facing Max the Impaler. Max the Impaler having a digital media title match, a shot at the digital media title in the pre-show of Turning Point. Uh, we have Willow Nightingale doing her best, going toe to toe with Max, but there is another light flicker, at least this time in the arena, that is just enough for Max to capitalize. I do have Mad Dog interfering here, but Mad Dog's at ringside. I wouldn't say he interfered. It's more so the light flickering that threw Willow Nightingale off. But I didn't want to have someone else interfere and blow up the surprise, or at least the twist that I have planned for Willow. But segment rating of 29, Willow having a performance of 30, Max having a performance of 33 or 23, Mad Dog doing good work at ringside. After the match, it looks like Max is going to continue beating down Willow, but we get the digital media champion, Zhao running out to the ring, getting into a brawl with Max. They're basically fighting, no real upper hand. Just the segment kind of ends as a brawl. 26, so we get a preview of the no DQ match for the digital media title and the pre-show of Turning Point. Zhao defending against Max the Impaler. Uh, we get a promo from Homicide, doing this as like a pre-tape promo, due to Homicide's illness, but he is not at the arena. He is recuperating at home, but he talks about how he's here at home in the streets, getting reacquainted with the streets, because he finally has what he wants. He finally has his hands close enough to Colby Carino. He took out Colby Carino's crew. Colby's crew took out Hernandez. So it's just Homicide and Colby now. So he's here on the streets. He wants a match. He wants a match at Turning Point, and he wants it to be a 51-50 street fight. So Homicide laying down the official challenge. wants to end this once and for all, and he wants to end it in a street fight. Segment ring of 29, storyline losing heat. And then afterwards, we go to Gia Miller, who is standing by with Colby Carino, and Gia's like, "Well, you just saw Homicide lay down the challenge, you versus Homicide, uh, one on one in a 51-50 street fight. What do you say?" And Colby's like, "I may have surrounded myself with, the best underrated talent that this business has to offer, but it was you, Homicide, who I've wanted all along. And, you know, they're all gone. Hernandez is gone. It's just you and me now. And 51-50 street fight, there's, no other place I'd rather do it as, because I know the wars that you had with my father and the damage that you've done to him. I want to inflict on you tenfold." And basically he accepts the challenge. So we have Colby Carino versus Homicide, one on one, 51-50 street fight at Turning Point. Segment rating of 21. Again, losing heat for the storyline. So hopefully the match will be better. Uh, Hopefully Homicide will be feeling good enough to at least turn in something decent. I'm not expecting a classic. Colby probably isn't quite so over, but you know, we're gonna do what we can here. Uh, we go elsewhere backstage. Like I said, it's a angle heavy show. Um, the boys, it's more so Juice Robinson standing there when he's approached by Dalton Castle and the boys are fanning Dalton off, and Juice is like, "I don't know what's up with you, but you need to get away from me after the way you freaked out last week." Dalton's like, "I'm sorry. I'm sorry I freaked out at you. I just, I had something that couldn't be seen by any outsider's eyes, and I had some information that's gonna blow Impact away, and I have information. I have a new development. I want to unveil it at Turning Point, and I'm extending the invitation. I want you to be there." And Juice is like, "Well, I don't know what to say, but thanks. Like, I guess I'll be there. I don't know what this thing is exactly, but you're talking up a big game. This, seems pretty cool. I guess I'm in. I'll be there." And Dalton's like, "Great, whatever." And then he just kind of sashays away, and the boys are just kind of following him again. So Juice, it seems like Dalton and Juice are, on a fair level again. Dalton's claiming to have some sort of surprise at Turning Point that he wants Juice to be there for, but we'll see what happens. Segment rating of 33 for that. And then we get an 8 knockout tag team match. Uh, the Knockouts champions of BFFs teaming with Janai Kai and Savannah Evans versus the Inspiration and Tennille Dashwood and Viper. Of course, these four teams going to be in a tag team match at Turning Point for the tag team titles. So, of course, they're them being on the same teams, not exactly cooperating, coalescing, coexisting, if you will. Uh, Tennille kind of like makes the offer that, hey, we've teamed before, and she's kind of like, wanting to, coexist with the Inspiration again, but the Inspiration will have nothing of her. And Viper, kind of uh gets Tennille back on, their page. Eventually the match ends with Janai Kai taking the fall. She goes for the tag. The BFFs drop out. They don't want to be tagged in. They don't want in. They end up making their way to the back. Savannah is yelling at them. That leaves Janai open to be pinned by Viper. So the team of the Inspiration and Viper and Tennille Dashwood get the win here. Um, just the BFFs just don't want any part of it. They don't want part of any of these teams, but they're gonna have to at Turning Point if they want to remain tag team champions. Sigma rank 40, so that's pretty decent. Deanna, head and shoulders above everyone else. She's at a 50. The next highest is a 43 for Viper. Tennille with a 40. Cassie Lee at a 40. Jesse McKay at a 37. Chelsea at a 31. Savannah at a 27. Janai at a 25. So gained heat for this, which is good. This storyline has gone on pretty long. We will likely end it at turning point with this match. So I have this as miscommunication. Chelsea Green did not, do it by accident. They just dropped out and just did not want any part of it. So that's how they win. That's how the Viper gets the win for her team. We go backstage to the X Division champion Swerve Strickland and captain of Team USA, with his lieutenant Willie Mack. They're still talking. They're just talking amongst themselves, and Chris Bay and Will Hobbs approach them, and they're looking around. They're like, "Well, looks, turning points Saturday in a couple days. Looks like you guys still don't have a tag team. I know we've had our differences and all that, but we are graciously extending our participation, if you will. Uh, it looks like you're in a jam. You guys don't have a tag team. We'll be your tag team." And Swerve just kind of like they're just kind of like they're laughing, like Willie and Swerve are laughing at each other, like you guys are kidding, right? Like why would I ever tag with you, Bay? I beat you 3 times, for the X Division title. Will, I've beaten you once. Like any differences, we might have had, like, there's no way in hell I'm ever gonna team with you guys. And for your information, we did pick out a tag team. It's just not either you one of you two. And out come Rep 419. After their BTI match, they kind of cooled down. They get dapped up by Swerve and Mac, and they're just like, "Well, welcome to the team." And Bay and Hobbs are like, "What? Seriously? You're gonna pick them over us?" And Swerve's like, "Yeah, I'm definitely gonna pick them over you. Trey Miguel's, former X Division champion. I'm gonna have him on the inside." He's like, Bay's like, "Okay, I get it. Trey, I'm a former X Division champion. Trey's a former X Division champion. I get that. But you're seriously gonna pick Will Hobbs over Sam Beal, of all people, over Will Hobbs?" And Team America just like kind of looks at each other like, "Well, I guess he's gonna have something to prove then." And they just kind of like welcome to the team, and they all walk off, leaving Bay and Hobbs, dejected. And it's like, what the hell, man? It should be us. We should be on, in the World X Cup for America. So it looks like Team America, Team USA is Swerve, Willie Mack, Trey Miguel, and Sam Beal, of all people. Segment rating of 34. So Team America and Team Mexico is finalized, but not Team Canada or Team Australia, as we saw earlier in the night. We go out to the ring, where after we see it's Nick Aldis and Mickey James come out to the ring for a promo. They talk about, Maria Kanellis, Mike Bennett, Maria Kanellis, basically guaranteeing Bennett's win over Nick Aldis, and Nick Aldis, calling Mickey James back to Impact. Um, I hadn't really factored this in, but Mickey James hasn't wrestled for Impact since January or February, or whatever her match with Deonna Purrazzo was, where she lost the Knockouts title back to Deonna Purrazzo. She hasn't been in Impact since, which uh, I didn't necessarily plan. I just, kind of had Mickey, kind of step aside. So I, had, because I basically had plans for everyone but her. So, but, Nick basically telling Mickey it's time to come back. I've heard Maria, you know, It's like I can deal with Michael Bennett, but I can't necessarily put my hands on Maria. She's a woman, but you can, Mickey. And Mickey's like, yeah, I heard all the things that she was saying last week about how I'm a fake legend and how I'm, using that to, get ahead or whatever. I don't need to do that. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to prove it. I'm going to prove it at Turning Point. I'm making my return at Turning Point, and I want Maria Kanellis in this ring. And Maria and Michael Bennett come out to the stage, and they have microphone of their own, and Maria's like, nope, nope, I'm not doing this. I'm not a wrestler. I'm a businesswoman. I'm a mother. I've had kids. I'm not prepared. I'm not a wrestler. And Mickey's like, you know what? I expected this. I expected all your excuses. The thing about all your excuses is that I have them too. I'm a businesswoman. I'm a mother. But I'm still here in this ring and I'm ready to kick your ass. But what I'm willing to do is I'm willing to meet you halfway. So how about we do mixed tag at Turning Point, husband and wife tag match. Me and Nick versus Maria and Michael. And Maria doesn't want to do it, but Michael's like, we can do this. I beat Nick before with your help. I can do it again. And taking care of Mickey's no problem. You've known her for years, you can do it too. And eventually Maria, gets talked into it and they agree. So we have a husband and wife mixed tag team match at Turning Point. Mickey James and Nick Aldis versus Maria Kanellis and Michael Bennett. Segment rating of 42. We go backstage to the Nasty Women Assassins locker room. It's not a good environment. Savannah and Janai are pissed. They're throwing stuff around. And Mercedes is kind of like yelling at them, but not like not like in a mean way. She's like, "I get it. You guys are pissed. You guys got turned on by the BFFs. You know what? Good. Use that to your advantage. Use that to point a target on their back. Use that to take the tag team titles from them at Turning Point." So Mercedes using this, their their anger to their advantage, and Tasha's like, "You know what? It looks like you're dealing with this. I heard that, you know, Rosemary and Bianca Blair are going to try to talk it out in the ring later tonight. I'm going to go out there. I'm going to do my thing. You guys can stay back here and do your thing. You know, good luck to you guys at Turning Point, but I got my thing with the Knockouts title. I'm going to take care of business right now." So Tasha goes out on her own, while Mercedes is kind of like trying to keep Savannah and Janai in check, if you will. Segment rating of 28. Storyline for the Knockouts Championship segment or automatically advanced. I don't know why I said that because it didn't really gain or lose overness. But we go to the ring for another promo, and it's Rosemary with the Knockouts title. And she's talking about how last week she teamed with the newcomer, Bianca Blair, and she's like, I really would have preferred if our, battle at Turning Point was a one-on-one match, but you didn't hold up your end of the bargain. Or like she's like, we had a team, our team lost. Eventually Bianca comes out to the ring, faces Rosemary, and she's like, well, the reason why this is a three-way is you didn't hold up your end of the bargain. Uh you're the one that got pinned, not me. I'm perfectly fine with doing a, one-on-one. I came here, I wanted to wrestle you for the title one-on-one, but another knockout in the mix, I'm willing to go. I don't care as long as the title's still on the line, but don't pin this on me. You know, I just got here and like I'm not the one that got pinned last week, and eventually Tasha Steeles comes out, you know, like she had mentioned in the last segment, she has a microphone of her own, and she's kind of like making fun of both of them at the same time as she gets in the ring, and she's like, "Yep, Bianca's right. You're the, Rosemary, you're the one that got pinned. You're the one that got pinned by me. And if I pin you at Turning Point, I'm gonna be, the next knockouts champion. And Bianca gets in Tasha's face. She's like, nope, not you. It's my time. It's my time. I've come here to Impact with one thing on my mind, to be the knockouts champion. And Tasha's like, girl, you don't even go here, which is a Bianca line from back in the NXT days. And Bianca immediately gets right up into Tasha's face. They start, like, jaw jacking, eventually brawling. Rosemary sets down the title. Looks like she's gonna miss somebody. She goes to mist. Apparently, again, it looks like she's gonna miss Tasha, but Tasha sees it out of the corner of her eye. She ducks. Rosemary missed Bianca. So Tasha bails out of the ring, laughing, doing, getting her part of the job done. Bianca's, rolling around on the mat, face full of mist. Rosemary, not necessarily proud, but not necessarily, I guess, she was cool with it either way. She didn't necessarily want to miss Bianca, but after some of the things she might have said earlier, she doesn't feel that bad about it. But a segment rating of 37 for the Rosemary, Bianca, and Tasha Town Hall, which results in Bianca getting misted. We go backstage to a promo of Josh Alexander and Eddie Edwards and Speedball Mike Bailey. They're just kind of like uh, talking backstage, talking strategy about their main event later tonight. And Josh and Eddie are kind of arguing, but Josh is like, look, I know you don't like me. And necessarily right now, I don't like you, but let's work together tonight. All we gotta do is get through tonight. We target Christian Cage. We soften him up for Mike Bailey, so Mike Bailey can win the title at Turning Point. You and me, we just gotta get through tonight, and then at Turning Point, we can, chew each other's heads off, determine who gets the next shot at the world title. You know, we go in there, we take care of Ace Austin, we take care of Lance Archer, then we take care of each other. We can take care of each other at Turning Point. So what do you say? Let's just get through tonight. Let's just coexist, and let's just get this done. And Eddie is just like, fine, whatever you say. Wherever you say, leader, you're the one that's talking. And eventually, Mike has to get in between the two. He's like, listen, let's just follow Josh. Let's just like you said, let's get through tonight. You guys can chew each other's heads off at Turning Point, but let's just, let's get our momentum tonight. Let's get our win tonight. Let's go on to Turning Point, and let's do our thing there. And cooler heads eventually prevail. So, but not necessarily a cohesive unit between the three. Segment rating of 37. We get a match of Chucky T versus Jonathan Gresham. Chucky T still with the briefcase of Danhausen for his X Division title shot, going against Jonathan Gresham. Uh, Chucky T getting the win by cheating with a handful of tights. Gresham routinely out wrestling him, but Chucky T in the end rolling him up with a handful of tights that Gresham can't get out of. Chucky T getting the win. Segment rating of 50. Uh, Chucky, I wanted him to get in the ring again, since he's still like one of our top overness people. Jonathan Gresham, guy not necessarily doing much of anything right now, so figured this would result in a good match, and it did. Segment rating of 50. Chucky having a 51, Gresham having a 44. And as Chucky, retrieves his quote unquote his briefcase and walks to the back, he's interrupted by a video on the video wall, and it's Mance Warner. And he's, wherever he's at, it doesn't really matter, but he's just talking about, you know what, ever since last week, you had the briefcase. I knew it all along. I know Danhausen thought, it might not be you, but, he's a little loopy, and you knocked him a little bit even loopier with that briefcase shot last week. So, he's kind of on the shelf right now. but I'm standing up for him, and I'm uh standing a challenge, you and me at Turning Point, and if I beat you, I'm getting that briefcase back for my friend Danhausen. And Chucky's like, whatever, I don't, fine, fine, you dumb redneck, you're dumb redneck and your dumb goth friend, whatever, whoever, bring both of you on. I don't care, but you and me, you want to wrestle me? I just beat a technical legend, or not so much legend, but like technical wizard. You think your dumb redneck ass is gonna beat me at Turning Point? Come and try. So he accepts the challenge, gaining heat for the storyline. 51. Chucky T benefited from having a hot catchphrase. Maybe he throws a shit in there or two. So, yeah, Chuck T's like, your dumb redneck ass think you can beat me? Go ahead and try. I've beaten dumber rednecks than you have, or than you. So, whatever. Bring it on. So we have a match. Mance Warner versus Chucky T at Turning Point. We go backstage. Gia Miller is interviewing the knockouts tags, just the regular tag team champions, the Motor City Machine Guns, and Gia brings up what Rhino had to say last week, basically verbally eviscerating Alex Shelley and Chris Sabin, saying that if he was the holder of the tag or that Collier shot trophy, he would do unspeakable things to it. And you're like, how do you feel about that? Your Detroit compatriot running you down like that, and there's like, well, we listened, we heard his words, we listened, and we took them to heart. But the thing is, what they fail to understand is their pride, their whatever pride that they're feeling right now, as having that title shot in their hands. They just don't realize that if they face us, they're going to get beaten. Heath couldn't beat Chris Sabin a couple weeks ago. Like, what we're doing, we're helping them. We're saving them from future embarrassment by rejecting their challenge. And while they're talking, it seems like Gia is picking up something in her earpiece, and she's like, "Well, I'm hearing that there's something happening out in the ring, and considering who's out there, it might involve you. So let's go out to the ring." And the guns are like looking at each other, like, "You're kind of you're just you're interrupting our interview time for whatever's going on in the ring. What the hell's wrong with you?" So the guns, claiming to have listened to Heath and Rhino, what Rhino had to say, but maybe not. But segment ring of 33, losing storyline, losing heat to the storyline, but that's probably just due to Gia, not so much the guns. Uh, but yeah, out to the ring, we get Jake something and Heath and Rhino, and they're cutting a promo. It's more so Jake than Heath and Rhino, but Jake says like, I've been talking to my boys, and they're kind of bummed that they don't have their title shot at Turning Point for the tag team titles. But you know what? That's okay, because I came up with an idea that'll help us all. Me, I still have that deal with Brody King. Brody King attacking me. And Guns, I'm still not convinced that it wasn't you guys putting Brody behind it. Brody says, is from the gospel or whatever. I don't care. I still think you guys planted the bug in his brain. So what I'm suggesting, Guns, if you're not giving them, my friends, a title shot at Turning Point, we're still gonna face you. Cause I think it's gonna be us three. I want us three versus the Guns and Brody King in a 6-man at Turning Point. And Guns, if you can prove that you had nothing to do with Brody attacking me, and by chance that we win, if we win, then Heath and Rhino, they get their title shot at Final Resolution the next month. So They get their their title shot that they've earned, the Call Your Shot Battle Royal. They get to cash that in at Final Resolution, whether you want to or not, because we will beat you at Turning Point. We will truly earn that title shot, and basically it's just Jake standing up for his friends, Heath and Rhino. Segment rating of 37, but his promo is interrupted by a promo from Father Bateman and Brody King, and basically just reiterating Brody's stance that it's the gospel calling to him to create violence. The guns had nothing to do with his attack on Jake something and whatever. This is just kind of another case where I kind of split uh, angles up to take up more time. This could have just been a Brody King and Jake something uh, confrontation, but uh, yeah, instead it's just a promo from Bateman and Brody, just talking about how the gospel is calling them to violence and all that, whatever. I don't necessarily really have any main motivation behind it. I just want to see, Brody versus Jake something, who, comes out of it at the end, because basically who comes out of this at the end probably will be going at least towards, like, main event status, if not like a future title shot. So this is kind of like a determination to like determine the next, generation, if you will, of uh who's going to step up to the plate, the next big thing, if you will. But the storyline losing heat toward the promo not great. Segment rating of 39. I think I had Father Bateman cutting it for Brody, but you know what do you do? And then we go elsewhere backstage yet again. Gia Miller, this time interviewing Christian Cage, Ace Austin, and Lance Archer before their main event match, the three-way or the six-man tag, the main event. And Gia reiterates, like, Christian, you haven't wrestled on Impact in a few years. This is, your first match on Impact in years. You're doing it as world champion, and Christian's like, yep, I am doing this. I've decided to grace my presence and, return to Impact. But I don't want to get it twisted. I want to make sure that the people out there have to pay to see me. So you, Ace Austin, you, Lance Archer, you're going to be doing the bulk of the work tonight, guys. I don't want them laying hands on me. I got a big match against Mike Bailey at Turning Point. I got to defend my title. I got to go in as fresh as a daisy. So, guys, it looks like you guys going to be doing the bulk of the work. Slaps them on the shoulders, like, I'll see you guys out there. And that leaves Austin and Archer. They're just kind of looking at each other, like, I don't know why we helped that guy. And Archer's like, I don't know why we helped that guy. And Austin's like, trust me, when we get through a Turning Point, when one of us has the world title shot, we'll take it out on him then. And this is why we're doing it. We're doing it for the world title shot. We're not doing it to help Christian. We're doing it to, get our names out there. And we'll figure that out at Turning Point. Segment rating of 38 for the promo. All right. And then for our main event, our six-man tag of the world champ Christian Cage and Ace and Archer versus Josh Alexander, Eddie Edwards, and Mike Bailey goes to a draw, I guess, a no contest. It basically just devolves into chaos after a while. We just get a big schmoz. No one can really control each other to a point. Um, we did have Christian Cage at limited involvement, kind of proving that Christian is like, I'm going to step aside, let you guys do all the work. Um, Eventually, that just, devolves into chaos. Segment rating of 38, so that Christian having him at limited involvement probably hurt us, but everyone else doing pretty good. Lance is at a 45, Austin's at a 43, Speedball's at a 47, Edwards at a 41, Alexander's at a 45, so Bailey doing better than Josh Alexander. It's kind of weird. flow of the match of the hurt because some of the workers were having little to no involvement, but that was by design, by the story of the match. Christian Cage um, stepping aside, making Ace and Archer do the bulk of the work. When eventually just frustrations boil over and everything just gets thrown out. So segment rating of 38. And then we end the show. Basically, we have the four men in the four-way at Turning Point: Austin, Archer, Alexander, and Edwards, all brawling. But eventually, like, it kind of comes to a standstill um, when they realize it's just the four of them. Christian is kind of like sneaking his way out and out up the back and up the ramp. Eventually, Mike Bailey catches up to him. Bailey grabs Christian, slides him into the ring. Christian suddenly finding himself in the middle of this four-way standoff. But as they eventually come to blows, Christian does eventually bail out and bails out through the crowd. Mike Bailey, I guess, chasing him, and then we just have a four-man brawl to end the show. But a segment rating of 45, so at least that did better than the match itself. Uh, Ending on somewhat of a high note. I know I was kind of like worried about this show now because like you look at all these 20s and 30s that we were getting. So no real like blow away show for our go home show, but we did get, our 8-woman tag match was a 40. Chucky T and Gresham was a 50. And then the Mance Warner challenge was a 51, so that's actually like our segment of the night. Um, the ending show angles at a 45, so we end it at a 44 overall. Um, Still kind of in line with what we've been getting, but I guess not a blowaway show, but at least it didn't like it decrease our popularity. It increased our popularity overall. But yeah, before we go, let me pull up the card for Turning Point. So for Turning Point, in our handy dandy Word document, the Impact World Championship match, Christian Cage defending against Speedball Mike Bailey. The Impact Knockouts Championship, Rosemary defending against both Bianca Belair and Tasha Steelz. The Impact Knockouts Tag Team titles, four-way BFFs, Deonna Prazzo and Chelsea Green defending against the Inspiration of Jessie McKay and Cassie Lee, Tennille and Viper, and the Nasty Women Assassins of Savannah Evans and Janai Kai. Opening round of the World X Cup. Two singles matches, and the winners will earn 2 points for their team. For the X Division, the X Division title match or X Division title will be on the line. Swerve Strickland defending against Petey Williams. So not only will the winner start off with 2 points for their team, but they will start off with holding the X Division title, which would definitely be a good momentum haver, if you will. And then also Team Mexico versus Team Australia in Mascara Dorada versus Buddy Matthews. Number one contenders match for the world title shot at Final Resolution. Eddie Edwards versus Josh Alexander versus Ace Austin versus Lance Archer. The winner of that match would be facing either Christian or Speedball at Final Resolution. Six-man tag team match: Heath and Rhino and Jake Something versus the Motor City Machine Guns and Brody King with Father Bateman. And if Heath and Rhino and Jake win, they will be able to cash in their tag team title shot at Final Resolution, whether the Guns want to or not. Husband and wife grudge match, mixed tag team match: Maria Kanellis and Mike Bennett versus Mickey James and Nick Aldis. 51-50 street fight, Homicide versus Colby Carino. And then we have Chucky T. I I I didn't want to name him Chuck Taylor because but I don't know if I like Chucky T any better. But I wrote Chuck Taylor here. But Chuck Taylor versus Mance Warner, and I didn't really put it here, but whoever wins would probably walk out with Danhausen's briefcase. So Chuck winning or retaining control, if you will. If Mance wins, he can, get his. This is all just done to get Danhausen his title shot, his briefcase back. If Mance can do it. And then for the pre-show, we have a no DQ match for the digital media title, Zhao Zia versus Maxi Impaler with Mad Dog Diener. And then Steve Macklin, Matthew Raywell, and Black Truce versus Joe Hendry, Nick Stapp, and their quote unquote Black Truce. Who that may be, we will find out at Turning Point. Um, yeah, I hope you guys are digging this. The show is kind of a downer, but I'm hoping Turning Point will be a quote unquote turning point, pun intended, for the future, at least for going into December and into the end of 2022 for some new things ahead. Hopefully, we shall see how that works out. But until then, thanks for watching. Katsuyori Shibati. I'm not cut that up. And then with NJPW Strong. Well, now I went Katsuyori Shibati with Johnny the Body. Or Scotty the Body. Have them team up.